Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly. And we are at the end of Season 3 of the Traitors US. And what a season it has been.
What was the name of this episode? What did they call it?
The Day of Reckoning is... That's the name of the title.
Oh, they ended
Here.
on a preposition?
I guess it's here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they seem to leave a word off in some of the titles or swap out a word where it's not the word I'm expecting to come next in that sentence, but then it just trails off or dissipates in strange ways. So it kind of threw me for a loop here a little bit. But the Day of Reckoning was, for some folks.
For some. Well, here's the episode description. The final day raises all stakes with a big announcement at breakfast. A hair-raising mission to the finish and the ultimate betrayal ringing in their ears. Either the faithful claim the prize pot or the traitors left in their midst steal it all. Let's get into it because we left off on a cliffhanger and we had to wait a whole week wondering what is going to happen. We were coming to terms with, is Danielle going to win the entire game?
I had to come up with the scenario that we arrived on last week because it had to be some way that I could wrap my mind around Danielle moving on to the final parts of the game here. But we come back to the roundtable as part of the tie-breaking vote round where we had to see Britney's results from her voting.
Did she vote for Danielle or did she vote for Ivar?
Who's Ivar? You mean Iva?
Is he here?
Is he in the room with us still?
He still is. And he's going to keep hanging around that room because I thought that she was already setting up her defense in the last episode, that Dolores gave her a look. And so she switched her vote to Danielle.
That was good. That was a good theory.
But we spent hours talking about, is it possible? Do you think she did it? No, there's no way that she turned on Danielle.
I didn't think she had the guts to do it because I think she knew the weight of that decision. The implication there was that she has betrayed Danielle yet again.
And she has.
And she has.
Because the relaxation that washed over my body when I realized Danielle was officially out of the game.
A sigh of relief.
From here on out, I don't care what happens.
This is all gravy. Anything else for the rest of the episode? This was the first 2 minutes of this episode. I didn't care what happened next. I was ecstatic. I was thrilled. And don't give me some shit about how Danielle's the best traitor ever and you're just hating on her for all these other different reasons. No, I'm saying that at every point where Danielle has to make a decision in the game, I have hated those decisions, every single one, and I didn't enjoy watching her play the game at all. That's what makes her a bad traitor. I don't care how long she's been in the game, how many round tables she survived. That doesn't mean that you're good at the game. That might mean that the faithfuls have no worry or concern about you maybe being a traitor. They're going to take you to the end.
I don't think it was this masterful play by her the entire season.
That's how it's being portrayed now.
By who?
There are people who are defending and saying, put some respect on Danielle's name for
getting as far as she did.
As far as she did.
Well,
and
if
as
the
long in the
traitors
game.
weren't busy picking each other off on a weekly basis, she wouldn't have gotten as far.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who were being sacrificed that became very obvious votes that went in front of her, heavily out suspicioned along the way.
I'm going to play devil's advocate in that what was annoying about her gameplay was it was so obvious that she was a traitor. She hyped everything up. She's crying, she's shaking. It felt overplayed to us, the audience, knowing that she's a traitor. But the frustration of this game is that the faithfuls usually aren't very good at figuring out who is actually suspicious. They're too distracted by other things.
Dolores is a great example of this. She's one of those faithfuls who just kind of bumbled her way here, voting for Tom every week.
Exactly. That is kind of just the nature of this game. I don't know that Danielle should take all the heat for it.
And it's failing upward in this sort
a lot of people
there's a
in
lot
the
of
finals.
A lot of that. And it's both sides. Yeah, it's faithfuls and it's traitors. So we're seeing it happen with Danielle. So when people are trying to defend and say, well, you're just hating on her because of all these other different arbitrary reasons. No. I have very specific reasons why I did not like watching Danielle play the game. It was every decision that she made as a traitor.
Too much MJ energy this season on the traitor side and on the faithful side. I will never stop talking about her. She is my most disliked person who has ever been on the show.
Robin was my MJ this season. I could not stand Robin. If I were playing the game as a faithful, I would have been so suspicious of Robin being a traitor, and then she would have been one of those faithfuls that I voted out, and I would have been absolutely dumbfounded at the result of that.
Let's talk about Danielle's reaction to Britney's vote. She kind of understands why everyone else voted the way they did, except for her.
Well, Britney caveats it. She thought that her vote wouldn't matter. She thought that Dolores had already voted for Danielle. So I'll just go with the group and vote Danielle, I guess. That was what Britney's assumption was. Did not get that memo. Dolores did not hit send on that message.
She voted for Ivar again.
She was all in on Iva.
Okay, my favorite part of this roundtable was Dolores's reaction to seeing Britney's vote, because she's shaking her head to herself like, damn, another faithful out.
She can't believe it. Yeah, we could have had Iva admit that he's a traitor and leave.
There was a lot of debate about this moment, though, in the reunion. Did Dolores actually shake her head at Britney in a way to indicate which way she was going to vote?
And Britney's trying to say, well, didn't you watch the show? Didn't you see it? They showed it. Yes, they edited the scene to be that way because you had mentioned something like that. So they had footage of Dolores looking off to the side and then nodding her head. That could have been when Danielle was speaking. Reaction shots, you can drop those in anywhere, baby. That's editing. So that doesn't prove your theory necessarily.
I'm not really sure that I believe Britney.
I think that Britney was on high alert and she was paranoid. The paranoia then impacted her decision making because she thought that the signal that she received meant, yes, it's a sure thing. Danielle is out.
I'm not sure I even believe the signal.
The nodding?
Yeah.
I think she saw a nod. She saw the look to Danielle and a nod, but that was Dolores saying like, yeah, stick with your girl or something like that was being implied, or like, this is the right call. We're doing the right thing.
She
and
thinks
Britney's
that
like,
everyone is always thinking the way she does. So she was probably nodding her head like, yep, going for Ivar.
That's us. We got it.
Who knows what she was thinking?
She was nodding in solidarity.
If I were Britney, my thought process would be, everyone's already turning on Danielle. I'm going to have to because the rest of the group is. And then also, it's my opportunity to get rid of her. What if she's going to feed me to them after this?
At this point, you have to think, because for anybody who seemed convinced that Danielle would have made it to the end and won, Dylan was adamantly voting against her. Gabby was voting against her. Ivar was voting against her. Her only allies were Britney and Dolores. I don't think that they would have ended the game with her. They wouldn't have been comfortable at that point. Even if they didn't know when she left in the later rounds here, when they get down to the final 5, I still think they would have pushed for that. Nobody would have felt comfortable ending the game with Danielle still in it. There were too many questions, lingering questions around her and her behavior.
No, I agree with that. That's part of why it's frustrating that people are like, well, she got this far. She did, but she didn't get that far without having suspicion on her.
She was on people's radar. If Carolyn were still here, if we didn't have the chess mishap, people would have taken Carolyn blindly into the final and wanted to end the game with her actively.
That's why I kind of believe that there was more strategy behind this than just Dolores looking over at Britney and Britney thinking, shit, I got to change my vote.
Because if that was a calculated move on Dolores' part, which it definitely was not, and was confirmed by her in the reunion, it wasn't. I didn't even look that way. I didn't nod my head.
I don't remember doing it.
Don't recall that. Was not a big moment for me. Britney saw something. She saw what she wanted to see and then made her vote in the way that she decided to vote.
So Danielle looks at her and is like, you did it to me again.
You done did it again.
You know, she screwed her over in Big Brother reindeer games, and now I trusted you and we're here again. I still don't believe that Danielle was going to take her to the end to share the money with her.
Me either.
I think it was going to be her big moment to get back at Britney for what she had done to her on Reindeer Games.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really think that was how that was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
The votes did not go that way. She was not able to do that initially here, but I think that was in Danielle's back pocket to say, is there suspicion? Do we think that there's one more traitor left? I think I have an idea of who. But no, she decides to leave another clue instead as she gets up to the circle of truth, because Danielle is the last person who's being banished in the game who is revealing her true identity before she leaves the castle. So she jumps up there. It's a rose and a thorn for basically everybody.
What's your rose and thorn moment of the season?
It was a rose for everybody and then a thorn for Britney. And so Dylan made note of that because that seems to be kind of a traitor move on the way out, is you take a jab at a traitor when you're getting eliminated.
Easy. That's, again, why I don't believe that she genuinely wanted to see Britney win any money, because if you did, you would have not said something that would put her in danger.
To be fair, she did just get fucked over. Pretty good. Pretty handily.
Okay, but not completely by Britney. Britney's not the one who led the charge at the round table. Everyone else was voting you out.
Absolutely. But Britney was the deciding vote. So to have it come down to Britney, who could have kept you in the game, and she voted you out again, that's really saying something. So Danielle had to say something on the way out there. She didn't go full Wes, guns a-blazing, middle fingers flying, or anything like that. It was pretty subtle in most considerations, I would say. But Dylan still clocked it.
They don't let anyone leave the round table yet, though, because the Seer, we all kind of forgot about the Seer prize that they were supposed to award. And obviously, Danielle must have won it, but because she got banished, they have to go to the second most winningest
amount.
person.
The money is in the pot, and that's who has it. It's Britney has this ability now.
Crazy that both of the traitors were the ones who made the most money in that challenge to win the Seer prize.
First and second. Because Danielle definitely had the most. She had $2,000 just from the dolly string pole one. Come on. She had to have cleaned up.
She definitely had won it. But here we are. We've got Britney winning the Seer prize, and they just escort her off because she's going to have to make this decision pretty quickly. Who is she going to call to reveal their identity to her? Now, what did I say? Because we had differing opinions on what the strategy would be.
Well, it was either you're kind of presented with this topic of find a traitor, confirm a traitor, or find a faithful, confirm a faithful. With you being a traitor in the Seer position, this makes it difficult to find a traitor, ask for a traitor.
Right, you're the only one left.
You're the only one.
See,
she knows the answer.
I think that Danielle would have chosen Britney, and that would have been her opportunity to throw Britney under the bus. Britney told me she's a traitor.
Then we already knew that Dylan is the one who kind of leads the charge because Britney decides to speak with Gabby. So Gabby gets pulled from the group, and then she goes and has a private bachelor rose ceremony date.
Yeah, it was really weird. This romantic table for two in the middle of the castle.
But no food was consumed. It was just a bottle of champagne split between the two of them. So there was that. But that leaves Dolores, Ivar, and Dylan in the library to continue strategizing together because Dylan's breaking it down, and he's looking at this very strategically to say, if they walk back into the room and somebody says one of them is a traitor, we have to vote both of them out. We cannot trust anybody. If somebody says that there's a traitor in there, we cannot trust that at all, either of them. If they come back in and say they're faithful, I don't know what we're going to do.
Which was my strategy. I said she called Gabby, I would be honest and say that Gabby told me she's a faithful because it helps to establish maybe more trust with the rest of the group, and it's confusing.
It's a risky move, though, because then you are confirming for Dylan, who Dylan had suspicions about Gabby. Dolores had suspicions about Gabby. Gabby is another person who's left in the final five who has suspicion, and you are clearing the person who has a bunch of suspicion on them.
Hey, she picked Gabby. She could have picked anyone else.
It's true. I probably would have picked Dolores, maybe. Dolores didn't really have suspicion on her. I mean,
Yeah.
Ivar kind of did, but in that moment, you're trying to make these quick decisions, and you just got super rattled by voting Danielle out at the round table.
She was not thinking straight.
No, you're not strategizing. You're not thinking 4 steps ahead. It's complicated. But they find out very quickly, yes, Gabby is faithful. That is confirmed. They show up at breakfast the next morning, and they reveal the information. Gabby is faithful. And Dylan doesn't know what to do with this. He doesn't like that news at all because he was ready to do the sure thing and vote out 2 people simultaneously and just eliminate them from the game and finish the game as 3 faithfuls.
He's also starting to wonder, like, okay, can I trust this information? Or maybe they are both traitors. I don't know.
What is the strategy?
He's getting paranoid now.
The paranoia is setting in for Dylan because now he's strategizing of trying to think, okay, if I think that Gabby is a traitor and she is selected by Britney to go and reveal her true essence in the game here, if they're both traitors, then they're going to say she's faithful. Dylan was going down that path at one point where he was theorizing that Britney and Gabby are both traitors and they might need to go because they're lying to us, saying that Gabby's a faithful. I think he was seriously considering it, but Ivar was convinced, no, there's no way that there's 2 traitors left. There's only 1. So that's what kept him at 1 traitor left in the game. Who do you think it is?
All right. Talking about people who have caught a lot of shit being on this show, no one thinks that Ivar deserved to be in the finals. And yet, he is the one who has determined there is most likely 1 traitor left. And he even points out that Dolores didn't vote for the last 2 traitors.
They should have murdered this dude weeks ago at this point.
I told you.
We saw the threat. He's just one of those faithfuls that is sleeping all the way up until the end. And then they are very dangerous. They awaken, they activate with all of the other voices that are gone. They're able to come to the forefront as a voice of reason in a lot of that.
He just gave Britney the keys to how she could have continued in this game. She should have invited Dolores to be the one to reveal her identity to her. And then if they had said Dolores was a traitor, Ivar would have believed it.
Ivar would have voted that out.
Especially if you then point out, okay, that's what she told me. In hindsight, that makes sense. She's not voting the traitors out when the rest of us are.
So I think that
she didn't turn on Danielle in the last round table.
That has to be a misplay from Britney's side because she took Gabby, who was probably second place for a lot of people in terms of suspicion, and she cleared her. So that didn't do it. Like, you could have increased Dolores's suspicion, but instead you reduced Gabby's.
I really believe the only 2 people left playing this game are Dylan and Ivar.
I was worried that they were going to make a play where it was just going to be them at the end. Me too. I thought they were going to strategize their way to that sort of a finish.
It kind of felt like it was going that direction because they're the only 2 who are declaring that they trust each other entirely. It doesn't really appear that there are any other alliances left.
Dolores doesn't realize how close she came to just getting blindsided at the end of this.
Dylan does eventually confront Britney about what Danielle said to her on the way out. Like, it was weird that she, used the opportunity to bash you. She said really nice things about the rest of us, but do you think it was weird? So now Britney knows, shit.
Uh-oh,
I'm in trouble, and Dylan's on to me.
Dylan's got me in his sights.
So what's her play going to be? And I got to tell you, Britney's gameplay has gone steadily downhill since she was recruited a few nights ago.
She thought she would be a really great traitor from the beginning. I think she would have been found out pretty quick because she gets too aggressive. It's some of the mindset, the mentality of the very competitive-minded people who come into this game, and they just go full throttle into the traitor responsibilities, and it's too much. You become very obvious.
Especially here at the end, if you haven't been adamant that somebody is a traitor, and now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you start shouting other people's names, and it's the last night, that's looking weird.
I think everybody was picking up on that because then Gabby is even saying she's a little suspicious of Britney at this point.
Yeah, she's talking to Dolores and Gabby, and she's trying to get them to vote Dylan out.
It's time to vote the boys out. So you have to realize this is somebody who's instigating. A lot of this thought origin is coming from
desperation.
Yeah, mostly, but it's all sourced with Britney. There's nobody else to have these ideas formulate around. She's getting suspicious of Dylan. She's casting other people's suspicions onto Dylan.
But we got to win some more money.
Because that prize pot, if you're going to split it 5 ways, it's not looking too good.
It's terrible. How come they can't give away $1 million?
They can't afford it.
Oh, come on. Peacock and the Traitors cannot afford to give people $1 million
I think it's silly.
For winning this game.
Well, and that's where I think it's silly of splitting it amongst, like, when they get to the faithfuls. I think if you win as a faithful, everybody should get that prize pot amount. You should win that total amount per person.
Maybe they do it on purpose, though, because if the prize pot is not that much, you're more apt to turn on people and vote more people out in the end so that you can keep the money yourself. Or the traitors have more of a reason to do that to each other.
Yeah,
it's got to be for drama.
The traitors should still split it. If there are multiple traitors at the end, they should split the prize pot. But if you're a faithful, you should just get the full amount. Everybody, you did a lot of work to get there, hard work for the most part.
What did they say it was? It was like $100 and something thousand.
I think they were at like 160 before this, 160, 170, somewhere around there.
And not that that's a measly amount of money, but when you think about splitting it multiple ways and it being taxed,
well, not for Ivar.
It gets a lot less exciting. Yeah, not for Ivar. He won't have to.
Yeah, he's not going to get taxed on it. Good for him.
I guess we don't know where he lives. We're just making an assumption.
I get the feeling his home address is not in LA, though.
No, probably not.
Probably not.
All right. So this mission, the first thing they have to do is answer the national animal of Scotland. And then they're going to go to another location where there are classic cars and gold. They have to retrieve the gold for the prize pot and drive the classic cars back to the castle. That sounded too easy for a Traitors finale.
Can I also just go ahead and say this is by far the dumbest challenge that I've ever seen on this show. And then to have this be a finale one?
It was very anticlimactic.
Incredibly anticlimactic because there was no difficulty in the problem solving that went into it. There was only one riddle that they had to answer, even though Tom wasn't here to help. But they were able to answer it so fast where the timer that was counting down, allegedly it took them 20 minutes to get to the location because the timer means nothing on this show, as we know.
It's fake. 1,000% the timer is fake.
Because that would have been if they had gone to a wrong location and then drove to another one, but they had to be like, they got it in the first try. So it took 25 minutes to drive over there. There's about 5 minutes left for them to get in here into the courtyard and then retrieve these cars, which they didn't even drive. There was a driver in each vehicle and they just rode in the passenger seat. So very thrilling, very exciting.
How did we go from the season where they were on like a speedboat to we're sitting in the passenger seat of a classic car for a leisurely ride back to the castle?
And then they just plopped the money at Alan's feet and he's like, okay, yeah, you did it. Great job. And they were like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
Were they convinced that 23 times 4 was going to be an impossible math problem for them to solve? Because that's what they have to decode to get past the gate to get to where the cars are.
I mean, it took me a minute, but...
I'm not saying that, like, first of all, I am very bad at math and I would not have been very helpful. But that's what you hinged the entire thing on, that and the national animal of Scotland, in which they gave them a map that had pictures of animals for them to guess off of.
And the different regions had a name of an animal.
Also, I just want to acknowledge, how fun is it that their national animal is a unicorn? Why can't we have a fictional animal?
Well, maybe you should write a letter to your congressperson. I feel like they're working on some other stuff right now, though.
Are they busy? I don't know.
Think so.
It's hard to tell
probably
what's going on.
Probably not.
But if we're going to change other things, like I like the idea of maybe a Norwal. It just really endeared me to the people of Scotland.
Carly, let's pause for a moment. Do you think that a narwhal is an animal that does not exist?
Yes, that's why I said it. Don't get started with the animal facts again.
Carly?
This is a regular occurrence. Is it real?
You're saying that you want narwhals to be the official animal of the United States of America because they're not real.
Mm-hmm.
I have bad news for you. They are a species of toothed whale.
Don't believe it.
Native to the Arctic. It's true. It's a real animal.
I'm not the right person to be picking fictional animals.
This is true.
That's been proven many a time on the podcast.
Very clear. Very clear.
Oh, man, I hope there are people who listen to Surviving Sister Wives who are just giggling away right now. They got all the money. And then Alan is like, guess what?
Double or nothing.
There's more.
No, not even that. It wasn't double or nothing. It was a chance to double the money that you did get. So there was no risk. Just...
That's why this wasn't fun.
Yeah, there was nothing at stake here.
So the helicopter appears. It's in every finale of the Traitors. So, of course, we were going to have a helicopter involved. And they pick them up. What they have to do is be strapped to the bottom of this helicopter, just dangling from a cord. And they have to then throw the bundles of money that they just got on the challenge into a hoop surrounded by fire.
A burning ring of fire.
A burning ring of fire.
Yeah.
As they're moving, because the helicopter is flying overhead, they have to time it out perfectly to drop the money within the circle of fire.
It's hit and miss, literally. They run into the age-old issue of dropping the bundles when they are directly above the ring of fire.
They're not timing things out very well.
But the trajectory, since they're moving forward, flying over it, if you drop the bag, physics say it keeps going forward too.
You have to drop it early.
Objects in motion, they stay in motion, guys. It's a real thing.
Some of them get to go in pairs, and that's what I would have wanted to do. There's no way I'm going up there alone.
Ivar did it solo, and
he volunteered.
I think I would have been doing it. I would have been throwing both of my bags at once, flying solo.
Don't fly me over again, because they turn around, they come back.
Yeah, it's two
We're
passes.
going past one pass, and I'm done.
That's it.
Get me down from here. So, do we really need to go through this? Brittany and Dolores, they go together. They miss one, they get one. Ivar misses one, but gets one. Dylan and Gabby each get one, or they miss one, whatever. They get money.
The strategy implications of this, though, that Brittany is very upset that Gabby and Dylan seem to be buddying up so much. They're like Barbie and Ken is what she's equating them to. Then why did you let them go together? Why? If that is your biggest concern right now, Dylan is your biggest threat in this game. You just cleared Gabby. Gabby is now sidling up with Dylan. Why are you letting that happen? You should have been buddy-buddy with Gabby. You were the one who cleared her.
Or been the one who went with Dylan.
Something.
And say he said something sus while you were up on the...
Yeah, you could
hanging
have
from the helicopter.
Made it something. Something could have come from this.
Take more control of the situation.
Well, to just stand by and say, I really don't like the way this is going. Then why didn't you do anything to prevent that from happening? You knew that Dylan was your biggest threat. Why are you letting him compromise the rest of the game now?
Too busy thinking about money. The prize pot is now $204,000.
Close enough. Can we just end the game now, Alan? No. There's one more round table to go.
Doesn't look good going into the round table for Brittany or Dylan. Very clear that they're going to be the ones who are potentially going to face off against each other. Not a lot of other theories floating around.
Except for Dolores with Ivar, and Ivar had suspicions about Dolores too, so they were kind of...
Yeah, but they didn't say anything.
No
one's saying anything about anyone else.
Committing. Yeah, they weren't going to commit to anything before the round table. They need to hear and see how things go down at the round table. They'll make their decision from there.
That is a faithful strategy. Let's just be quiet going into the last round table. Maybe no one will notice that I'm here anymore.
That'd be really nice.
No one will vote for me.
That should be a traitor strategy.
I mean, how amazing is it for Ivar to almost get voted out last night, and then today no one is saying his name?
Yeah, it seemed like there was like some conversations with Dolores and Dylan where Dylan was able to vouch for Ivar and kind of clear him in Dolores's mind. Because Dolores had even admitted, I don't know Ivar that well. And Dylan was like, look, I have been working with him for a long time in this game, and I fully believe that he is faithful. So that seemed to quell some of the concerns that Dolores had. This is the point in the game, though, where you can't come into the round table and start accusing other people. You all have to go, oh my gosh, this is the hardest round table we've ever had to do because I trust every single one of you. And I don't even know how we're going to come to a consensus of who we're going to vote out at this point. I can't believe it.
That was convincing. Do you want to go on the next season of the Traitors?
I'd have to go on the UK version because that's where they allow normal people to play the game.
Well, Dylan's here.
He's not normal, though. He's celebrity adjacent.
He's celebrity adjacent. Depends on who you ask.
Yeah,
not Bob the drag queen.
Not Bob the drag queen. Not impressed at all.
Alan reminds them before they start that, remember, we're going to get rid of somebody. Someone's getting banished tonight, but they will not stand in the circle of truth and reveal if they are a traitor or not. So there would just be this question of, did you get all of the traitors? Are you all faithfuls? We will not know. Gabby starts.
Because she's faithful.
Yeah, everybody is declining to speak first, except for her, because she gives Britney her flowers for not lying about her identity. She could have had the opportunity to say that Gabby was a traitor and she didn't do it.
I don't do that drama shit.
Gabby lost me a little bit here. Just not thinking at all that it could be a strategy of a traitor.
She was
to be
patting,
truthful.
I think she was patting her on the back saying, thanks for doing that. And it could have gone way worse because it would have been bad for both of us if you had tried to say that I was a traitor.
Yeah. Maybe she's thinking, I'll survive this, but you may not. Ivar and Dolores do start to question each other, but it's very brief. But we do have a moment of
A little suspicion because
are you a traitor? Are you a traitor?
Dolores was voting for Ivar. She was the big proponent pushing for Ivar just a day ago.
It was really important that they kept that in, though, because what we're about to see play out between Dylan and Britney, very different behavior.
Not two faithfuls talking about, I've been suspicious of you. This was Britney with conviction going after Dylan. Way too aggressive. Again, not the right mindset to be at the final round table. So when everyone else is trying to take stock of, okay, if there's one person left, if there's one traitor left at the table, what would that look like? What would that behavior be? And how would that discussion go? They'll be fighting for their life. And that's pretty much what you saw from Britney.
All of the faithfuls have been pretty even-keeled this season, even when they get accused of something, unless it's something outrageous or there was a lie that's being said. But the way she comes at Dylan, first of all, he opens and he's like, I'm voting for you. It's not even him making a pitch. It's just straight up, this is what's happening. Nothing's going to change my mind. I think that what happened between you and Danielle on her way out was weird. I'm pretty sure you're a traitor.
It wasn't him trying to convince anyone else that Britney is a traitor. It was just him saying, tonight at this round table, I have to vote for someone. The person I think at the table is the most traitor-like is you, Britney. And she goes off the handle here. She is just ripping into him with all these different theories that she's come up with about how he's the traitor. You should all vote for Dylan.
It's very clear that she has been thinking about this nonstop for the past few hours. Ever since she decided that she was going to come after Dylan, she started to lay out a story that she was going to spin.
She has decided to vote for Dylan.
And he's just sitting back like he can't get a word in. He's trying to defend himself and she won't let him. And it's giving everyone flashbacks to watching the traitors defend themselves all season because they've all been the same way.
I think at this point, that's all I would have said because Dylan kind of shuts down and it could have been the way that they edited the responses, but he wasn't really defending himself very well here.
I don't know that he felt like he needed to.
I mean,
it was kind of outrageous, the things that she was accusing him of.
And the claims are, I can't refute you on these things that happened. Yes, I had those relationships with those people while they were in the game. I have no way of saying that I wasn't friends with Boston Rob because very clearly we were.
I thought her defense of like the people who got murdered don't make sense for me to have murdered them. Like we know that because we think that you got recruited.
Yeah, you weren't involved in those.
We're pretty sure you've been a traitor for, 2 days.
You're new to this.
It's very obvious.
And it shows, yeah.
There's just been such a marked change in her demeanor. There was no way to look past that.
If I were Dylan, though, I would have called attention to that. So I don't know if he did and they edited that out or if that was just part of the roundtable discussion. I would have been saying, at this point, looking around the table, what other conversations does this feel reminiscent of? Does this feel familiar? The feeling that you're feeling right now with Britney coming after me in this way, does that ring any bells for anyone? Dolores, does that sound familiar?
Okay, it must have, because this is how the votes turn out. Britney votes for Dylan. Not a surprise. Dylan votes for Britney.
For Britney, yes.
Ivar goes for Britney. Gabby votes for Britney. Even Dolores votes for Britney. It is a sweep.
It became very evident very quickly that Britney is fighting for her life as a traitor. It was too much. She went over the top.
How crazy is it that they managed to get every traitor out of this game? We are finishing with all faithfuls. They don't know that yet because they don't get to know. Britney just walks out past Alan, doesn't declare anything. But we know at home that now we're left with 4 faithfuls.
Unprecedented at this point in the game.
But we are not done. It is time to go to the fire of truth. So they're all going to vote. Are they going to keep playing? Are they going to banish one more time? Or do they feel comfortable ending the game with everybody who is here?
Who was your red flag? Because, yeah, they have to, if one person says banish again, you have to banish someone else, whether you voted to or not.
Going into it, they were making it appear that Dylan was maybe on the fence.
A lot of suspicion had been just raised at the round table for Dylan, too. So now everybody's kind of looking at Dylan a little bit differently.
Well, I feel like they were really drumming it up because we also saw him say before they got up from the round table that he's down to end the game, which could have been seen as suspicious because a traitor would want to end the game.
A traitor wants to end the game as soon as possible at this point, because if they're one of the only traitors, then they win.
That's where I think he had that moment that came over him of we cannot come back to this table again because I'm pretty sure they're going to vote me out.
My biggest concern was that Dolores was going to say banish again.
Yes, you're right.
That was the concern.
Dolores has been a wild card this entire time.
Yeah, you don't know what she's liable to do at this point.
Which the producers do know that because everybody gathers around the fire. We watch them select, I don't know, what is it? A stone? What the fuck is it they throw in there?
It's not a stone.
It's a packet of something?
Yeah. Well, here's the real trick. They don't actually throw a packet of anything in there. I think it's just a little... It seems like an air compressor or something that they inject some dye into it because then the fire really kicks up when they do it. So I think that's a little trigger that they have for the pyrotechnics.
They have a lot of pyrotechnics on this show.
A lot. And a lot of them are in
except for the fireworks.
Well, not the fireworks at the end. Yeah. We know that.
Dylan votes to end the game. Ivar votes to end the game. Gabby votes to end the game. That seemed pretty, I think, straightforward. All green.
Dolores is the wild card, as usual.
And before they cut to commercial, I thought that I saw the fire start to go red, and I was screaming.
He didn't even throw anything in yet.
I don't know. It was like the fire kicked something back out at him.
No, the audio, they made the sound that the fire whoosh sound.
Then I completely imagined it.
Yes, you did.
Because I thought this was going to be more dramatic than it was.
They cut to black, and then they did the whoosh sound, so you didn't see anything.
I was convinced it turned red. Then we come back and we discover that Dolores has made the first correct decision in the entire game.
Well, except for voting out Britney. She's on a roll today.
One day, the last day.
She's crushing it today.
She showed up to play.
She's doing it. All right, are you ready for my suggestion, my twist that would really mess things up for the final?
Mm-hmm.
If you vote to end the game, you don't get to vote if somebody says banish again. So there could be one person who chooses to banish again, and then they could eliminate somebody without question because everybody else agreed to end the game.
Oh. Well, that would be scary.
Yes. Yes, it would.
I have to say, there have been a lot of really good suggestions from people of how to improve the Traitors. They could have so many seasons of this show because there's so many things they could tweak and change throughout future seasons.
All the variations, all the different iterations, the crossing over, the rules, the acceptances. But I think that could be an interesting take because then you would have to be mindful of who you're taking to the final. Because if you're taking wild card Dolores, who votes on a whim, she throws in that banish again, and she's the only one who threw in banish again, and she says, bye-bye, Iva. I don't trust you.
That is what she would have done.
And then the next turn around, maybe there would be other people who would just say, okay, we need to end the game, and then she goes again.
It was shocking that they all voted to end the game, that they all trusted each other enough. There are 4 of you left. That's a lot.
And these are people where Ivar and Dolores did not trust each other 24 hours ago. Gabby and Dylan definitely didn't trust each other, which I feel like that's the big misplay that Britney had by clearing Gabby. That made Dylan able to trust Gabby more going into this final, because then he had Gabby and Ivar who he trusted. I don't think I would have been able to let Dolores go this far in the game. I don't know. I feel like I would have been very suspicious of Dolores.
She did a lot of things that don't make sense, but it's also just indicative of bad faithful behavior.
Clueless faithful.
Yeah,
is just as dangerous as a traitor.
So they get to split the prize pot. They're going to receive $51,000 apiece.
A whopping, life-changing $51,000 apiece.
I mean, that is life-changing. Maybe not for them.
Not for them.
Yeah. People who have been on reality TV and have made money other ways.
Here's the other thing. $50,000, that's before taxes.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to
take a lot of it away.
They're going to get about half of that. Maybe 25,
which is
26.
Still a nice chunk of money.
I think Gabby will be able to pay for a wedding with that.
But it could have been a whole lot more if you hadn't ended with 4 people.
Maybe we could have bumped Dolores out and then just do a split 3 ways, because I think we've earned it. Ivar, I don't know if he needs it. So maybe we could drop it down. It's just Dylan and Gabby, 50-50 split.
It's just funny to see the different mentalities going into this, because we've had that last season where they got rid of MJ and then just split the prize pot between the 2 of them that were remaining. We've had other people who have had like a literal debate standing around here as they're starting to vote of, I need the money more than this person needs the money. These 4 didn't do that at all. They felt like, we're all here. We trust each other. We all earned our spots here. It was very heartwarming.
I don't know how they all could stand there and say, we trust each other.
It didn't really seem like they did until now.
Very recently, there was not trust amongst this 4.
Well, Alan has good news for them, because he does reveal Britney's identity now that the game is over. And she was, in fact, a traitor.
Shocking reveal. I had no idea.
I liked that they won in the end.
It was good. I didn't want Danielle to win. I was very worried that she was going to. So
I would
that
have
was the
been
relief.
just as satisfied, though, if Britney took all the money herself.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I would have felt like Danielle thought this was a genius play to bring Britney along with her, and then to have Britney win and her lose. It just would have made me feel even more satisfied seeing Danielle upset at the reunion.
The game becomes not the friends we make along the way, but who can stick it to Danielle the worst. That's the season.
That's what I was looking for.
That's the main thing. That was the high I was chasing.
You want to talk just briefly about the reunion?
Oh, you forgot the fireworks. We do have to address that, because a lot of people are struggling with this. People are saying it's AI fireworks. No, guys, it's a visual effects shot. You cannot photograph fireworks in the sky and have this entire scene that's lit in front of you. They have to superimpose those in the night sky behind there. There's no physical way for a camera to capture both what's happening here at the Ring of Fire and the fireworks up in the sky. It's not going to look good. It's not how that's televised. So they probably had one little Roman candle that was firing off that they were reacting to. And then they just superimposed a visual effects shot against the night sky, empty night sky of a full-fledged fireworks display.
Thank God we solved that for everybody.
Mystery solved.
The reunion. We're not going to go into it in depth. It's a lot of, Andy Cohen saying something to everyone just so they get a moment to speak. But if you watch the season, you will enjoy the reunion.
It's worth watching.
Yeah.
And they do clear up a couple of things. There were some rumors that were circulating, some rumors.
Yeah, the biggest of which was, did Danielle break the show's NDA by telling Britney that she was a traitor and that she was going to recruit her and they would go to the end together?
And Danielle does the right thing where she speaks up loud and clear into the microphone, looks right into the camera, and mentions how seriously she takes non-disclosure agreements. And I would never do that.
I thought it was so funny that once they both answered and said, no, that didn't happen, Andy wanted to move off of the topic to the next question.
All right, I lost interest.
And they kept trying to reinforce because they're nervous that they don't want to get in trouble. I'm sure there's a financial penalty for doing something like that. You'll probably never be invited to be back on a show that falls under the umbrella of Peacock again. And he won't let them finish speaking. He's like, all right.
Okay, yeah, whatever. I've lost interest. We're moving on.
Also, I have to say, I wish that Alan got to be the one who hosts the reunions because he's there while they're voting. We've gotten to hear him talk about his reactions to seeing what's going on in the round table. I think it would be a lot more fun if he was there.
It would be fun because it would be like Alan out of character to host the reunion. I think that would be really fun because for people who don't know, that's not usually how Alan acts and talks and communicates with people. So he is funny and lighthearted and goofy too. So it's very dramatized, over the top sort of hosting that takes place for the Traitors.
We don't need Andy Cohen to host everything. He's already busy, isn't he?
Don't you have some Housewives stuff to fix? Don't you have a couple of different
maybe
franchises?
We need to focus on some franchises.
Let's work on improving some of the products that we have before we just start piling on with some other responsibilities here.
We got to see Britney and Danielle face each other and talk about what went down. I thought Danielle was going to be a lot more upset than she was. She does kind of come around to, it's a game, I get it, but I'll also never trust you again if we ever play a game together, which, like, rightfully so. She has screwed you over twice. Well,
Dolores had to point it out. It's fool me once, shame on you, Britney. Fool me twice, shame on you, Danielle.
I just feel like we're not getting all of the facts because now Danielle can say, look what you did to me. But we don't know what would have played out if they had both stayed in the game. And I just, in my bones, do not believe that she was going to take Britney to the circle of truth.
Yeah.
The fire. The fire of truth. And that she was going to end the game and split the money.
And it was in the way when they were asking Boston Rob, if he would have taken Carolyn to the final. And he was kind of loosey-goosey, unsure about it. And then Danielle said, no, you wouldn't. And it was like, yeah, because I don't think she was thinking about taking Britney all the way to the final. You tell people that you will, and then you don't do that as a traitor.
Every one of the traitors was thinking they were going to go to the final and take the money for themselves.
Yes.
Because Carolyn said it too.
They all agreed.
Yeah.
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew what was going on.
Don't trust a traitor that you guys are going to split the money at the end, please.
You have to work together earlier on, which that was what was crazy to see this season, was to have the traitors pretty much against each other so early in the game.
It was hard to watch, but it made for an amazing clip show at the reunion.
It really did. Yeah, with Boston Rob just looking back and forth at Carolyn and Danielle caught in the middle.
Yeah, Bob the drag queen being like, thank God you guys got rid of me when you did, because damn,
I wouldn't have been able to
shit show this became.
Been able to handle this.
Yeah. Everyone else getting to see what was happening in the turret, they thought that they're being picked off by these people and they're all working together and they were all at each other's throats the whole time.
The Traitors are so organized this season and just they're working like a well-oiled machine. We can't find any of the traitors. Wrong again.
They did have a little bit of like back and forth between the faithfuls and Bob the drag queen. First of all, Bob the drag queen, of course, best dressed. The blood on your hands gloves.
It wasn't Bob Harper? Are you sure?
Yeah, Bob Harper thought it was himself. Let's give it to the Bobs.
Andy was really building Bob Harper up and fanning the flames there, but I think you can easily say it didn't hold a candle to Bob the drag queen.
No, not at all. Bob could not even turn around. Bob kept talking to people who were behind him. And I don't think you're supposed to turn around and face people, but like even just a little upper body. No,
You couldn't see Derek, who was sitting behind him for half. Yeah, it was just Bob. That was all you got.
But man, these housewives were pissed that they had to share screen time with Bob.
Dorinda specifically.
Oh, Dorinda will not let go of the fact that Bob said he doesn't know who Dorinda is. Like, that was the biggest insult. Never mind getting voted out, banished first. She's not worried about that. She wasn't
banished. She was murdered.
She was murdered?
She was murdered.
I don't even remember. Either way, you went home the first week. You were a blip on the radar. But what she's upset about is that in some interview that Bob did, he said he didn't know who Dorinda was.
There was not niceness on the YouTubes.
Yeah, she did say on the YouTube. Who was talking about this? I saw an interview, someone screaming because they saw it about how, it was Dolores. All the housewives don't understand how the internet and especially YouTube work. She said that they only had access to a TV with 4 channels on it because, like, in a past season, Kate Chastain learned how to activate something on the television remotes, and that she was able to speak to her friends on YouTube, or that she was emailing via YouTube. That's what Dolores said. That's her version.
Emailing via YouTube.
So they had to cut them off from that.
It was like the season 3 Natalia Grace, where she was communicating with her boyfriend in London through Duolingo.
Duolingo app. Yeah. Just learning Scottish over here. They're also upset about this theory that Bob was eliminating people who were funny or had other big personalities and were going to be a challenge screen time wise. So he was going to have to share screen time with them.
I'll call bullshit on that right away. Because then why did Tom Sandoval last so long? And why is Gabby in the final? And why did she win?
Well, I mean, Bob was long gone by then.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though.
Maybe they would have been gone if Bob had stayed in the game.
Maybe.
Don't know.
But that's kind of a ridiculous theory. I think Bob made his intentions very clear at the onset, where Phaedra was the textbook traitor, and so make people think it's a housewife by murdering as many housewives as possible, which Andy was not happy with either, because yes, it eliminated a lot of screen time, which would have been beneficial for him.
That's true. He needs to attract people to his shows.
He's upset.
Yeah, he's bitter about that.
Equally upset as Dorinda. Well, and then also because Dorinda had to call Andy and she cried to him for a while. So that was just more time out of Andy's day.
Dorinda proved her point, though. Not her point. Proved the point of getting rid of her. You're loud. You're very angry. You're not letting it go.
Hard-headed, stubborn, loud. I'm telling you, the reason why she got murdered was because she made everybody feel bad about eating dinner before they got back to the house.
She shamed them, and they internalized that.
She made people feel bad on the first day.
They also awarded a prize. Is this the first time that we've seen a traitor award?
Yeah, this happened to line up and coincide with Oscar season. So they did come up with an Oscar type award for the best acting in a castle.
Someone told Danielle, Dolores was the one who told Danielle that if you ended up being a traitor, that you deserve an Oscar.
It would be...
Again,
it's not film.
I don't think that we should give Dolores access to the Academy, and let's not have her vote on anything.
Dolores, it would have to be a Golden Globe because this is television, so it wouldn't be an Oscar, honey. I'm sorry.
But she is nominated. Many of the traitors, all of them, right? Maybe not Britney.
All of the traitors were nominated.
Britney?
Yes,
Britney
because she had her Dylan accusation was her nominated scene for that round table.
If anybody is losing screen time, it's Britney, because every time they brought the traitors together, they were like, but not Britney, because she was only a traitor at the very end.
It's Britney, bitch. It is.
But Danielle wins for best performance.
And Bob the Drag Queen sums it up best. It's just an honor to be nominated, which it was. Yeah, it was very good.
Those are kind of the highlights from the reunion. But again, definitely watch it if you watch the season, because it was fun.
Where do we go from here? This is the end of the road for the Traitors Season 3, the US version at least.
I cannot believe, first of all, watching the clips back, at the reunion made me want to just go back to episode 1 and watch it all over again.
It felt like a totally different show.
It's like, I'm so addicted to this.
Well, the good news is the UK version, season 3, if you're in the US, that just dropped today too, because it's just the whole season, because the UK one actually finished up a little while ago, but they don't release that until the US version is done.
They know we're jonesing to binge something else.
We're just going to burn through it.
And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be watching that all this weekend, you think?
It's going to happen.
Let's be real. It's not going to last.
That's most of the day tomorrow.
Yeah.
We also have Gypsy Rose, Life After Lockup, Season 2, kicking off on Monday. That's when it's airing.
Premiering on Lifetime and Peacock.
So we'll be dropping those episodes on Wednesdays in the coming weeks here. So stay tuned for that.
Get excited. I am very much looking forward to talking about this. Not only do we have Gypsy, we have the reemergence of Casey Anthony on TikTok, which was clearly inspired by Gypsy's journey.
Seeking TikTok stardom in the same ways. But then you have to have...
We will chat about it extensively.
You're going to have Gypsy Rose with the hot takes where she has to go and analyze Casey Anthony's TikToks and be like, I don't think it's a good look.
I can't wait for you to really hone in on the Gypsy voice.
It's going to be quite the journey this season, I believe.
And if you guys have enjoyed our recaps, we have bonus content coming out every week over on our Patreon.
So check the episode description for the links everywhere you can find us on social media, Patreon, and the like.
I think our next Let's Talk About It over on Patreon is going to be Big Family, Big City. Is that the name of it? Big City, Big Family? I can never get the order correct.
Big Trouble in Little China. It's one of those. Little people, big world.
And if you guys can't get enough of the Traitors, we've been watching every week Traitors Australia Season 1.
Every Monday.
Over on our Discord. Everybody watches it at home and we chat on our Discord channel.
So we're like 5 episodes in, I think? Mm-hmm. It's still early on.
You're not going to be behind because most of us cannot remember anyone's names.
Yeah, we're going to need a Guess Who board with people's photographs and names so that way we can kind of keep track as people are eliminated from the game.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.